Hi everyone. This is my feedback for Assessment 5 and the literature reviews. And like previous weeks, I'm going to do everyone's feedback in the one video. Um, Overall, I think everyone's traveling really well. Each of everyone's research proposals are coming along nicely, so it's good to see. So I'm going to do the feedback in the order of Andy, Jock, then Gillian. No particular order there. Just that's how I've managed to review each of the literature reviews. So first up, beginning with Andy, I find that your research, your literature review has a real strong emphasis on evaluation methods and some of the theories behind um, evaluation for research. And look, I found it really informative. Um, what I did kind of notice, but was or what struck me was that some of these assumptions around evaluation theories and methods, whilst really important, I almost feel that it's assumed that the researcher will will be carrying that out regardless. I was more hoping to see a bit more information around the the conceptual puzzle you've developed around health assurance policy coordination problems in Indonesia, um, because I don't think it's entirely clear what the research problem you're trying to address is. I feel that like it wasn't until I got towards the end of your literature review started talking a little bit about the evaluation of health insurance policy in Indonesia and that you want to find the solution of some of the coordination problems and the conflicts among politicians and levels of government. Now, I almost feel that like I would have liked to see some of that built in right from the beginning of your review and through your reviews of different articles or pieces of literature from Indonesia or I noticed you have an example there from Philippines, which is great. That's maybe in that the Philippines, given its location in Southeast Asia and its economy and its the fact that it's a democracy, I find that could be a a great case study to get some materials. I just felt that I just wanted you to see like lay out all the you know the narrative around look these are the pieces of literature that are out there and these are the this is what was explored and these are the gaps in the research and look I think we need to um, explore that further and that's what my research will do or something like that but look that's just my view so you can take that as you wish but look well done and I think you're coming along with your proposal very nicely. Next up is Jock. So I liked your introduction. It put a good recap of the social problems at hand. I also see that your research question and hypothesis is evolving very nicely. So that's good to see. I liked how you've developed yourself a pretty solid conceptual puzzle, which it shows you how your work is connected. For instance, you make an important observation about the Kalb et al. Study about creating employment options, even if close to the supply, may actually help only one third of the problem, with the majority government policy needing to be directed to factors relating to human capital, poorer health, living in areas with fewer labour market opportunities, etc. That's that was good to see. I noticed you also touched on social capital, and look, I almost feel given that social capital, I find it a real fascinating concept, especially in the spatial disadvantage space. given my own research interests. I would actually love for you to flesh that out even more. I know there's the work by Robert Putnam has he's explored social capital and the role it has in in certain areas of advantage and disadvantage. I noticed how your review is broken up into a number of headings such as support for supervisors and line managers, etc. My own comment on this is that I wasn't sure what the rationale for this was or how it fitted in with your overall conceptual puzzle. Are these the topics most relevant to your proposed research? That was a question that sort of sprung to mind. But regardless, the headings were helpful in the structure of the review, nevertheless. One area I believe the review it could have perhaps further fleshed out was more around the commentary on the gaps in existing research. For example, your review of Cutcliffe 2006 outlines that an Aboriginal person might get shunted through half a dozen unsuccessful jobs in a year, and government figures will actually count this as 6 jobs created. Look, that's a really fascinating finding, and and I think it would be really useful to know whether this type of analysis, the style of that analysis, adds anything to your research, or if it's not relevant to your proposal, or some of that commentary could have even sort of helped develop your reviews even further. But look, regardless, I think it's all shaping up well. And finally, Gillian, your review is also really well structured. It provides a clear narrative on where your research sits within the existing literature. So look, that was really pleasing to see. I liked how you adopted the use of consistent language too and explained the adopted language in a simple way. For example, you talked about the types of scandals. And I feel that that's really helpful just so everyone understands, everyone's on the same page because, scandals is very sort of, as a concept, there's many types out there. I also liked how you explored some of the methods behind several of the research pieces, and I feel that some further commentary on which of these methods could be useful for your proposed research. Um, that's just my view. I think it's definitely finding out what was some of the methods behind them, and then sort of providing a bit of an analysis on whether that's useful or not. That could be helpful. You've demonstratively shown that your proposed hypothesis is connected and related to the works in your review. So that's good. That's great. And finally, your conclusion provides a well-rounded commentary of how your hypothesis relates to the selected literature material. However, one thing I was hoping to see more of was a bit further commentary on what was potentially missing from the research pieces and how your proposed research will attempt to fill these missing gaps. Look, I mean, the research is obviously an evolving story, but yeah, look, that was one thing I was potentially looking for, but look, I can't really knock it. It's looking really well. It's looking really good. So, good luck to everyone, and I'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks. Okay, see ya.